Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's DAF. Hayomi Bava Metzia Tzadi Aleph. We are holding right on the bottom of Tzadi Amud Beis. We had a machlekes. If a person commits an isser, he does a lav, like muzzling an animal, like preventing the animal from eating while he's threshing, but he does it not by a masa, not by a physical act, rather using his voice, yelling at the animal, scaring him off. Rabbi Yehuda says he's chayiv malchus. Why? Akimas piv havya maisa. The mouth movement, that is sufficient activity to be considered a ma'asa to generate malchus, because we're working with the assumption that in order to generate malchus, a ma'asa must have been committed. Rish Lakish says potter, because in actuality it was the sound, it was the voice that accomplished, and that's not considered an act, a physical act. So doing something, committing a violation by voice, by speaking, by verbalization, Rabbi Yehuda says that's sufficient ma'asa to generate malchus. Rish Lakish says it's not. Says the Gemara on the bottom line, Eisvei, Rabbi Yehuda and Rish Lakish, I have a kasha. There's a Mishnah in the beginning of Maseches Temura. So he has an animal which is a karban, an oila, let's say, and he says, look, I want to make a temura. I want the other animal, which is just a plain non-karban animal, to take over, to be sort of an exchange, right? I want to transfer the kedusha from this to that, and you're not allowed to do that, right? But it works. And the kedusha, it's not really an exchange, it's like an extension, extends over. Right? He wants this to be instead of that. It doesn't work, but it extends. The kedusha of the yoda sort of extends onto the other animal as well. And the Mishnah says like this. Very interesting halacha. Lo yisha adam rashay lahamer. You should know, it's not to say that a person is allowed to do this. It's an isser, it's a lav. You get malchus. Ela sheim hamer. But if a person does do it, it works. It's asur, but it works. Mumar. It takes effect. But it comes with a grave consequence. He gets malchus. Now, how did this take place? Was there a physical act involved? No. It was merely words. There you go, says Rabbi Yehuda. Words trigger malchus. Amar Leiser, Rish Lakish says, yeah, Hamani Rabbi Yehuda. I was working based on the accepted understanding, the Shitas Rabbanon, the consensus, which is that malchus can only happen through a ma'asa. But here it's Rabbi Yehuda speaking. The Omar, he says you don't need a ma'asa. Lav she'ein v'ay ma'asa loikin olav. He says even a lav which does not involve physical activity can generate malchus. A classic example is noisor, right? Leaving over some carbon material past the deadline, even though it's not a ma'asa, right? Still he would get malchus. So Rabbi Yehuda is the author of that Mishnah. But according to the Shitas Rabbanon, no, you need a ma'aseh. And speaking does not suffice. I ask the Gemara, how can you say that? How could you say that the Mishnah there in Temura is following Rabbi Yehuda's opinion? Because it's inconsistent with another aspect of Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. How could you say it should be this week in Tani Rachel? Take a look at the beginning of that Mishnah. Hakoil Memirin. All individuals, owner of karbanis, have the ability, have the power to affect a temura, whether it's men or women. But we had a question on that Mishnah. What is the word hakoil, which is a very inclusive term? What's it coming to cover? Hakoil asuya mai. The answer is la asuya, to include yoresh. If one inherits his father's carbon and decides to make a temura now on that carbon, he's not the original initiator of that hegdish, he's just taking over. He's also considered a full owner right now, and therefore he makes temura. Lasuya Yerush with the like Rabbi Yehuda, but this doesn't work like Rabbi Yehuda. Because according to him, Amar Yerush Eino Meimer, he says that Yerush is not the original initiator. He can't be considered the true owner and cannot make temura. Yerush Eino Yisaymech. Likewise, if one inherits a carbon from his father, he can't lean on the carbon and do smicha. He's not really the original owner. The Mishnah is not following Rabbi Yehuda. How can you say it is following Rabbi Yehuda. Well, says the Gemara, two things are unrelated. One issue is, what is the status of a Yerush vis-a-vis Tmura? One is an issue regarding a general, question whether speaking, violation through speaking, can generate malchus. And Haitana, the author of that Mishnah, picked and chose. On the one hand, he followed Rabbi Yehuda. Haitana saval kavasei b'chad. In one aspect, the malchus coming through speech, he held like Rabbi Yehuda. Upalaglei b'chad. And the other aspect, regarding a Yerush, his ability to be a maimer, he disagrees. He holds that he can make Tumura despite the fact that he's just a Yerush. Tana Rabbanan. Here's an interesting halacha. If a person, let's say he borrows his friend's animal, to thresh with it, and he decided to muzzle the animal. Now, when he borrowed the animal, he undertook responsibility to feed the animal while he's working with it, right? So now he muzzled the animal. But he muzzled the cow and he used it for threshing. So first of all, he did a lav. He gets malchus because he threshed with a muzzled animal. But he has to repay the owner because he deprived him of that feed, which he was expecting his animal to feed off the threshed material. He has to pay a set amount, which is dalad kav and 4 kav lepara if it's a cow. That's a standard fare. V'gimel kav and lechamar, 3 kav if it's a donkey, because that's typically what they eat during the this type of threshing activity. Asks the Gemara, what do you mean? How can you double penalize this fellow? We never find that a person can get malchus and misa, or malchus and be required to pay monetarily for the same offense. Rashi says that would be considered shteirush oyos. You can't punish a person twice. The pasuk says kederish asay, one single punishment can be applied, but not a double punishment. So here he's already getting malchus because of the chasima. How can you require him to pay as well? Omar Abaye says, Abaye, look, Hamani Rabbi Meir here. This brisa reflects Shitas Rabbi Meir, who says a person can receive 2 punishments. Rabbi Meir the Amar Loike U'Mishalim. And Rashi brings the Gemara Makais, right? So in the Mishnah there, Rabbi Meir says if a person falsified edus, so he gets malchus, and if he tried to inflict monetary damage as well, so he has to pay for that. Bottom line is, he can be doubly penalized for the same offense. Rava says no, and the Bach adds the words bevalotzeis yidei shamayim. Interesting that, in the actual court system, in the Bezdin system, we can't apply a double punishment for the same offense. But in heaven, in Shamayim, you haven't really fulfilled your full obligation. You haven't really fully rectified unless you actually go the full 9 yards. In this case, actually pay up for depriving this animal owner of his feed. So again, even though in the Bezdin Shalmata we can't force him to pay, we can't apply a double punishment, but in Shamayim he wasn't really yotzei unless he pays up. Rava brings an interesting raya to this point. Rava Amar Esnan Asra Torah Vafilu Bal Imay. Right, the gift that a person will give to a zoina, immoral woman, for being with her as married. So that's called an esnan. Right, so that gift is asr, to be brought as a korban. And interestingly, even if it applies to one's mother, afilu ba'al imay, where there is going to be capital punishment, misa applied for this type of behavior. Nevertheless, if he hands her the esnan, it's considered an esnan, meaning even though she can't really claim the esnan that he promised her, because, as Rashi points out, because he's already being punished in the grandest way possible, right? Kimle b'derabimene, a person gets the bigger of the 2 punishments. In this case, he's being put to death because of this offense. So she has no financial claim on him, despite the fact that he promised her the esnan. But nevertheless, if he gives her the esnan, he voluntarily gives it to her, it's considered an esnan. It has that status. It's considered payment for this activity. So, what do we see from here? Even though we, as the Bezdin, don't have the ability to affect a double punishment, but the basis for that second punishment is there, is present. And if in fact he follows through and he pays her, it's considered payment for the activity. Likewise in our case, even though we can't really compel the owner to pay after we give him malchus, you can't, right, apply double punishment. But in Shemayim, he's only going to fulfill his obligation if he pays up. Interesting concept. Rav Papa Amar says much more simply. Of course this person has to pay for the animal feed that he did not lay out. Do you know why? Although he's getting malchus for muzzling, but that happened later. Mishas Meshicha, at the moment of Meshicha, when he took physical possession of this animal that he borrowed or rented, at that point, he becomes obligated. He has to feed the animal. Done, right? Mezainis triggers right then. Lucky, but the malchus aspect only happens later when he muzzles the animal. It's two separate, unrelated events. You can't pair them together. Lucky until he muzzles Shas Chasimas, of course. We can apply both things. He gets malchus for muzzling, and he has to provide food because he took responsibility for the animal's well-being. Amar Papa. Hani Mili, the following two items, Bo Minai, were asked of me, Debeira Papa Bar Abba. So the members of the yeshiva of Papa Bar Abba asked me the following questions. Upashti lahu li'isur. In both cases, I told them it's asur, it's forbidden. Now, in one case that was right, chada k'hilchasa, v'chada. In the other situation, like k'hilchasa, it wasn't really based on the literal halacha. I was just, being stringent for whatever reason. Okay, the two questions that were asked were as follows. Number one, they asked from me, Mao lolush is isa b'chalav. Is a person allowed to knead a dough with milk? Can a person make milk like a bread? I said no. Upash tilu isura, and that was right. Kilchasa. Why? Because a person might mistakenly eat it with meat. The Sanya, as we went to the Brisa, ain't lashon as isa b'chalav. One is not allowed to mix milk into a regular dough. V'im lush, and in fact, if he does that, kolapas kula asura. So the entire bread is forbidden, so as to avoid any sort of avera issue because it might be eaten with meat. In similar fashion, the other way around, one is not allowed to smear an oven with tail fat, because then the bread baked in that oven will become fleshig. And it might be eaten with milk, right? Bread is a staple, a basic staple, which can go either way, right? So you can't commit it to one or the other because you might get it mixed up and use it with the other. V'im tush, and if he did actually coat his oven with this fat, and then he baked the bread in it, kol hapas kula asura, so the bread baked in it is asur, you can't eat it. Ach shiyasik asatano. The only way to avoid this issue is to now clean out, to fully, burn out the oven and clean it from any fat. So the first question was whether a person is allowed to make this type of bread, and the answer is no. Second question was like this. V'idach bo minai, they asked of me, ma'u lahachnes min v'she'ena min ledir. So the Torah does not allow us to crossbreed, two animals, right? Of different varieties. What about doing it in an indirect way? You have this deer, this little barn or whatever, and you're going to insert two animals into that barn of two different species. You're going to leave them there. You're not going to physically, crossbreed them. You're just going to leave them there and cause them to crossbreed. Is that okay? And I told them you can't do it. But in reality, it's not based on an actual halacha. I was just being machmer so that they don't come to actually, do more than they should. Why is that inconsistent with the accepted halacha? Meaning, why is that not really us? So Shmuel told us like this: if Adam, witnesses are coming to testify that two people were involved with each other inappropriately as married, in an erva. all they need to see is that, physically they're in a position which appears to be, this type of, engaged in this type of activity. But they don't have to see, explicitly more than that. So general position is enough. When it comes to Isser Kalayim, crossbreeding, Malchus will only apply if a person physically inserts. He actually physically connects the animals. So there's a mashal, Shiachnes Kimachol B'Sheferes, like a dropper inside a tube, right? So basically, if he does anything less than that, he's not responsible for Kalayim. So that's the halacha. And I was machmer on them to prevent them from coming to this point. I said, you can't even get close to that. Don't even get these animals involved by bringing them in together in the same area. Mosiv Rabbi Chadvoi Barami, he had a kasha on Shmuel, who seems to say that when it comes to Kalayim, you need more than just a general, mixing up of the animals. Mosiv Rabbi Chadvoi Barami, Ilu Nemar Behem Techlei Serbia. The Torah would say, don't breed your animals. I would assume it means lo yechos adam habehema b'sha'a sha'ila le'azachar. Person is not allowed to be involved in animal mating. You can't even grip the animal while the male is ascending on it, right? So you can't do that. That's what I would think. Tamalayim kilayim. The Isser is only getting involved in crossbreeding, but if it's the same species mating with each other, that's okay. Okay, that's the Bryce. Now let's delve into the Bryce. Lav mechlal dechalayim achizan amiloi. The Bryce is speaking of merely gripping the animal while the other one is mounting, right? And we say, well, if it's the same species, same type, min b'mini, no concern. But apparently when it's two different types of animals, then even being involved in this minimal fashion is asur. That's not like Shmuel, who says you need more than that. Lo, he says the Gemara, my achiza achnasa. The phrase achiza doesn't mean just gripping the animal. It means actually physically connecting them. And that's why it's asur by kilayim. V'maikar le'achiza. Why does the Bryce use this term achiza? Lishna ma'alya is a dignified way of expression. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, min b'minei mutar lahachnis k'mikhal b'sheferes. So when it's the same type of animals, you're allowed to connect them all the way. There's no issue of lack of tznius here. My time, you know why? Because it's not going to trigger any improper thoughts, because it's his business, it's his work, and he's focused on that aspect and nothing else. Mosiv Rabbi Chadvoi Barami had a kasha from that price. Ilu nemar lebem techlei savbiyah. The pasuk would just say, don't be marbiyah behemo. So I would say, well, yechas adam asa behemo. Kadesh aleh aleh zachar. Person not allowed to grip an animal to enable the zachar to mount. Tamalei mekalayim. Oh, says the pasuk kilayim. The concern is only kilayim with the asr when it's two different types. Ham bin b'minei shari. But if it's both male and female of the same type, then it's okay. But even there, it's only allowed in a limited fashion. You can't be explicitly involved. Even when it's min b'mini achiza in, only gripping the animal, assisting in this fashion is mutter. But it seems that more than that, actually inserting and connecting the animals would be also achnasa loy. So you see, it's inappropriate. Loy, says the Gemara, my achiza achnasa. When the Brisa speaks about achiza, it means literally connecting the animals, and that's mutter when it's the same type, as we said, because he's involved in the technical aspects. He's not going to, his mind is not going to wander into unwanted territory. Why does the Brisa call it achiza? It's more than that. It's a dignified way of saying it. Omar Vash. The following halacha, the following question was asked to me, Bo Minai, by who? By the members of the head of the community. Devei Rabbi Nechemia, he was the Reish Galusa, the head of the exile. Oh, interesting question. Can I go ahead and I have the deer, the barn deer. Could I bring a zachar, right, a male animal, with two females, one of which is the same type of the zachar, which is okay, and one is not? So in total it's 3 animals. Is that okay? Or is that called causation of crossbreeding? Ma'ulachnas min, uminai, and also v'she'ena min ladir. What's the question? Given the kaminai, since the male has a female of his type, you would assume he's drawn to that one. Or no, even so, it's also because it might end up in the wrong place. Says the Gemara, I concluded to them that it's asur. But I know that it's like hilchasa. I was being extra stringent. It wasn't because of the halacha, rather it was because of mishum prisusa de avdi. Because the servants, the avodim there are not the most conform, not the biggest conformist. Therefore, I was concerned that once we sort of open the door to anything, it's going to lead to more and lead to actual kalayim, and therefore I use this as a stopgap to prevent any further violation of kalayim. Okay, now let's go back to the halacha that a worker can snack off his material while he's eating, right? And that's the halacha we've been learning for the last couple of days. So while a worker is picking grapes, he's allowed to eat off those grapes, and the same thing with an animal, right? Like sachsam sharbadisha can snack off the material that he's threshing. Says the Mishnah, so let's say this fellow's working in a farm, and he's using his hands, but not his feet. Or baraglov, avla using his feet, not his hands. Let's say he's just using his shoulders. He's entitled to eat off the material of the balabayis while on the job. Rabbi Yehuda, no. It has to be a fully engaged activity. He has to be fully involved, hands and feet, as we're going to see in the Gemara. My time. So why does the Tanakama say it's sufficient by only using hands or feet? Pasuk says that the worker is coming in there and working. In any which way, any which fashion, any aver, any limb that's involved in work is okay. My time with Rabbi Yehuda. Why should Rabbi Yehuda insist that has to be a full engagement? Kishar, because we compare the human worker to the animal worker. Just like an animal is fully engaged, hands and feet, right? He's threshing with all four. Same thing with a human worker. He can only snack off the owner's food if he's fully engaged, wholeheartedly, fully, with all his limbs. Now, according to Rabbi Yehuda, an animal, a person has to be fully engaged. Now, let's say he's using avazim, tarnagoylim, geese, ducks, chickens to thresh. Right? Interesting thing. And as we know, these creatures don't really have. Rashi says, "Ein lahem yadayim li'shayin." They don't really have hands to lean on it, and right, they're just using their legs, right, their wings, whatever, not involved, right. So dosh ba'avazim v'tarnagoyim Rabbi Yehuda mal. What's the status there? Can they partake or not? B'chol koicha be'ina v'ika is the point that Rabbi Yehuda is requiring full engagement. Well, they're fully engaged. There's nothing left, They're fully engaged, right? Right, because they exercise their full power by way of their feet. Or shall we say that you need hands and feet, and since they don't have the concept of hands, then they can't have this privilege. Take it, we leave it unresolved. Let's say you hired some workers to crush your grapes. Okay, so they're walking back and forth in the wine press, turning the grapes into wine or into grape juice. So the question is, they're allowed to eat, right? But they're starting with grapes, and it's being transformed, it's being converted into juice. So until what point can they still snack off the grapes, and from what point onward can they only snack from the juice? Meaning, when do we consider their involvement as a grape involvement, and when do we start considering it a juice activity? So he sets the guideline. Shesiv is back and forth, like a cross, right? Like an X. So before they went back and forth, right? So the grapes have not yet really been significantly crushed. So we see them as being involved with grapes. They can snack off the grapes. They can't drink the juice. But once they've gone back and forth and they've thoroughly crushed those grapes, now it sort of flips into juice activity. So now they can do both. They can drink the wine, and they can still, interestingly, have the grapes, because basically they're involved in both, right? So it's pretty clear that they're turning grapes into juice. They're both elements. They're both elements present, right? It's a juice activity and a grape activity, and therefore they're allowed to partake in both. Says the Mishnah, suppose this fellow is working on the farmer's fig trees. He's not allowed to go ahead and snack off the grapes. He's working on grapes. He shouldn't take from the figs. But suppose he's working all day, right? So he's got to hold back from these grapes or these figs, and wait until he gets to the good stuff on the other side. That he can do, right? As long as he's snacking off the material that he's working on. Truthfully, all these workers are only allowed to do this as they're working, right? He can't just take a break and says, okay, I was waiting until now, finally I have my lunch break, I'm going to sit down and take everything I want. He can't do that. The halacha only allows him, the Torah only allows him as he's working. But Chachamim instituted a special clause, Mishum Hashiv Aved L'Balam, in order to financially protect the farmer, right, from his workers just taking off and idling. They said like this. They said, let's say they're walking from one patch to the other, right? They finished harvesting grapes off this row of vines, and they're about to start the next one. So as they're walking from one to the other, they can eat on the road, because it's actually beneficial. It's helpful for the owner, because they're anyways idling. It's idle time. It's downtime. They're walking. So during those moments, they can eat. Or when they're returning from the wine press, right, and they're going, go to do another shift. So in between shifts, right, they can eat, even though technically the Torah only allows it as you're working, and here it's while during idle time. But the fact that Chachamim understood that the owner would be pleased with this, because he's not really taking off from work; it's preserving work time. And likewise, ubachamor kishehi poirekes, and when it comes to a chamor, right, who's carrying stuff and he's going to be snacking off that stuff, he can do that as the load is being unloaded, which again is downtime and benefits the owner. Okay, so basically the point is you can snack while you're eating from the material that you're working on. But now comes an interesting question. The question was posed like this. So this fellow is picking grapes off vine A. Is he allowed to go ahead and pick some grapes off the other vine, which is a more luscious looking vine, which he's not currently involved in picking? He's picking this one, right? Can he take off the other vine? It's the same min, it's the same type, and he's going to get to it soon. But currently he's not involved in the other one. He's involved in this one. Is that okay or not? Shall we say min shata noisin lekelev shabal abayis? Ba'inan va'ika. Torah says, when you're harvesting for the owner, and you're filling up his containers, you're being noisin lekelev shabal abayis. So then you can take some for yourself. So in this case, it qualifies, because it's the same type, it's the same min that's going into the owner's container, and that's what you're picking, that's what you're snacking. And that condition has been fulfilled. Right? It's the same min, even though he's not physically picking off that vine, he's doing this vine, but it's the same type. Or no. He needs to be physically involved in that vine, in those grapes that he wants to snack from. He needs to be the same exact material that he's using to fill the owner's container, that you could snack from. But in this case, you haven't fulfilled that condition because he's currently involved in this vine, not in the other vine. Now, if you'll propose that it's not okay, if he's involved in this vine, he can't take from the other vine. So, if that would be true, how could you understand the halacha that an animal can snack off food that he's helping harvest? We know that as a fact, right? A shur can snack off food that he's helping to pick and helping to harvest, right? So basically, he's pulling a wagon upon which the pickers are throwing the grapes off the, that they're harvesting off the vine. So the animal is 10 feet ahead, right? How can he be allowed to snack off those vines which are not really being picked right now? It's a different geffen. So the fact is, we learned this from the halacha, we learned this from the Torah, that a shur is allowed to do that. Doesn't that shed clarity on our question? I mean, how can you propose such a question if the Torah clearly says it's allowed by the shur? No, there's no raya from the fact that a shur can eat. Maybe we're speaking about a tree with a long branch. So yeah, the fellows are picking off that same branch that's reaching up to the animal's mouth, which he's picking from. So it's the same exact entity. Tashma. Okay, let's try to conclude on this question from our Mishnah. Again, the question was, I'm involved in picking vine A. Am I allowed to, pick off vine B, which seems to be more tasty, and so am I allowed to do that or not? It's the same type, but it's a different, tree. Tashma. Mishnah says, if you're involved in picking figs, don't take from the grapes. But suppose it's figs and figs, meaning he's involved in this fig tree, and he wants to pick up the other fig tree. Which is in a similar setup to the case of the grapes and the figs, right? Meaning two separate entities. So you can't, two different types. But if they're both the same variety, they're both grapes, even though they're different trees, one is the one I'm picking on, one is the one I'm snacking off, that's okay, eichel. Right? Now, if when I work on this vine, I can't snack off the other vine, so how can you apply the halacha of the Mishnah? Right? Which indicates that when I'm involved in this te'ena, I can take off the other te'ena. Amar shisha v'eder avide b'mudlis. Oh, perhaps you can't just state a blanket statement that I'm allowed to pick off the other vine. No. The Mishnah, which says that the issue is only when there are two different types, which indicates that if they're both the same type, it will be okay. That's because he's physically involved in both of them. Bimudlis. So Rashi explains that the Mishnah which talks about figs and vines is speaking that they're both sort of intertwined. The vine is sort of hanging off the fig tree. It got entangled in the fig tree, and he's involved in both. Rashi says because he's got to pick up the branches he's got to separate them. He's got to, right, and that's called involvement in both. But the problem is because he's not really picking both at this point. He was hired to pick the figs. True, he's got to deal with the grapes and get them out of the way to get to the figs. But as the Mishnah says, since he's involved in picking figs, and he's filling the owner's containers with figs, right? So that only allows him to snack off the figs and not the grapes. That's the chiddush of the Mishnah. Even though he's physically involved in both, but since he's only picking one variety, he can snack only from that. But in similar fashion, if they're both grapes, two different vines that are sort of entangled with each other, or two fig trees that are sort of entangled with each other, there's no issue. Because he's involved in both, he's picking both, right? Simultaneously. So therefore, he doesn't have to differentiate, and he can just snack off both. But in a case where there are two distinct entities, one vine here, one vine there, who says you could snack off the other one while you're picking this one? Okay, Tashmai comes another right. Mishnah says, but he can contain himself, right? If he likes the other vine better, he can wait until he gets there, and he can snack off the other one when he gets there. Now, let's bring it right the other way. If, in fact, a person has that ability to snack off the other vine, why does he have to wait until he gets there? Nasal v'nesi v'nechel. Let him go there, pick some grapes, and come back and eat it. Right? Why does he have to wait until then? Says the Gemara. Right? Nasal v'nesi v'nechel. Hasam shebita malacha. No. You see, there's another issue. He's taking off time from work. Whatever time it takes to get to... So that's not fair. Look at my boy. That was never a question. Of course that's not allowed. He's not allowed to take off time to go to the other vine. The question was only applicable when that's not an issue. There's no time loss. If he has his family, he has his helper, his wife and kids going to help him pick off whatever he needs. So the other question is strictly an achilas poil question. It's not a bittul zman cheshbon. It's a question of entitlement. Am I entitled to snack off any vine of my choosing, despite that I'm involved only in this vine at the current moment? So what's the halakha tashma? We're going to try to bring another right from our Mishnah. Mishnah continues that according to the strict rules of this halacha, only during actual malacha can you snack. But in order to protect the farmer and the owner, we say like this: when it's anyways, downtime, when he's walking from one road to the other, you can snack as you go along. On the way back from the wine press. Okay, so now the Gemara figured, the Chachamim of the Beis HaMedrash here, who are trying to prove our point from this part of the Mishnah, figure like this: the going notion is mahalech ka'isa masadami, that this walk, this transfer, right? When he's walking from one ummah to the other, or back and forth from the wine press, it's really part of his job. It's ka'isa masadami. He's considered actually involved, and really, right? Because you have to walk. You have to, in order to get there, right? So he's preparing for the next pick. That's considered actual involvement in his picking job, in his pula, which entitles him to eat right now. Right? So Menator is allowed to eat. So why do we need a special takana? Nevertheless, if not for the Chachamim allowing him, if not for them giving him the green light, he wouldn't be allowed to eat. You know why? Says Rashi, because he finished picking row A. He's on his way to row B. So his walk is really preparation for row B. Right? It's considered part of the row B task. And where's he eating from? He's eating grapes that he picked off row A. So that would be a problem. Come the Chacham and say, you know what? The farmer is more than happy that he does this to save him time. Let him eat as he's walking, despite the fact that he's eating from the wrong one. Apparently, Menatori can't. What does that tell us regarding our question? That despite the fact that he's fully engaged in grape picking today, he can only snack from the one that he's actually picking at the current moment. Alma. So what do we see? When you're involved in one vine, you can't snack off the other one. No, says the Gemara. Perhaps I can go the other way. I can suggest that you're allowed to snack from the other vine. The reason why we needed a special takana in this case is because when you're walking, you're not really engaged in picking grapes, and you're not entitled to snack. It's only because of Hashavas Saveh that we allowed. But if he's actually picking, who says we have to differentiate between this or that vine? There was another flip version of this whole discussion. So the Bnei Yeshiva figured, those moments that he's walking from one place to the other is not really considered engaged in his actual work. It's only preparation. It's not actually, picking and considered actual involvement. And that explains why. That's why Minatori can't be eating at that moment. Because he's not physically involved in picking. But let's make a diuk, an inference. But suppose he would be engaged at that very moment in picking grapes. So Minatori he would be allowed to eat. Despite the fact that he's eating off the wrong vine. He's eating off the vine that he finished picking from, and he's on his way to pick the next vine. So he's engaged in vine B and still eating off vine A. So apparently, notwithstanding this issue that walking is not considered activity, if it would be considered activity, theoretically. Or let's say he is actually picking, but he's picking off vine B. He still can eat from vine A. Alma he says the Gemara, not necessarily. Perhaps I can tell you when you're involved in vine A, you can't eat from vine B. And so right? When you're involved in vine A, you cannot eat from vine B. And truthfully, this walk is part and parcel of his actual activities, part of his work, which would theoretically enable him to eat. But here he can't. If not for the fact that there's a Hashavas Aveda aspect, the Rabbanon, Midaraisa he can't eat because you can't snack off vine A while involved in vine B. So basically we tried to bring a raya or a kasha from the Mishnah to our question, and we left it sort of hanging. The last part of the Mishnah says, so the animal is allowed to snack off his load while it's being unloaded. The Gemara figured that the words kishehi perekes means that they quickly unload and it's done. So where's he snacking from? Kishehi perekes meichen achla. Where's she supposed to get the hay from? It's all off the animal. Eimal will revise the Mishnah. Mishnah meant ashdei perekes, that he's allowed to eat off his load as they're unloading the animal. And what's the chiddush here? Even though he's done transporting the load, right? No, Taisa says like the chiddush is that I would think that leisachsim is only when the animal actually visibly is visibly exposed to the material that he's, let's say, threshing or whatever. But if it's on his back and he's not really noticing it, there would be no concern about leisachsim, says the Mishnah. No, even there the animal can eat. Tanin Elad Tan Rabbanon, we have our Mishnah which is going to support the following brisa, which says the same: Chamor v'gomel eichlim, donkey or camel are allowed to snack off their loads, mimas v'shal gabein, u'avad shlita b'yod v'yachilim, provided the worker who's helping with this transport is not going to manually take from that material and feed it to the animal. You can't do that. Right? The mitzvah of leisachsim is that allow the animal free reign, right? But you're not mechuyev, and in this case, a worker is not entitled, not allowed to take the produce of the balabayas and feed it to the other fellow's animal. Okay, let's recap today's DAF. We spoke about a violation committed with koil. Rabbi Yehuda says chayiv. Rish Lakish says potter. We tried to bring right from Tamura. We discussed a chiddush, even though a person gets malchus from muzzling, but he's still obligated to compensate the owner of the animal. We had several explanations for that. We had the extent of the Isra of Kalayim and the halacha of Bimarbia non-Kalayim. To what extent does the person allowed to be involved in that? We had the halacha of Yadav and Raglov. We had a machlokes, right? To what extent does the person have to be involved in the activity in order to enable him to snack off that food? And we discussed the interesting shaila regarding the poel eating of a geffen, but it's not a geffen that he's actually currently involved in. We tried to bring rayas one with the other, and we concluded an interesting halacha of Hashavas Haveda that the Chacham instituted into this halacha to protect the interests of the farmer. All the best to you, and Hatzlacha Rab.